So there's a bunch of charts. There's more than we need because I'm not going over this totally. It's most of the thing. There's the IC. Everything starts at the IC, the deepest point. It rises, rises, rises to the MC. We put energy out, we instigate, we project, until we project it as far as we can, and then we have to react to what we projected and how people have responded to what we projected. And then we have to take it in. And there's all kinds of levels of depth with how we take things in or how we respond. So that's the rising and setting. The second category is above or below. If something's above the horizon, just going to run a little bit ahead. The horizon, the ascendant descent, is the line of consciousness. It's the consciousness of the difference between within ourselves and without ourselves. It's really the edge of your skin. It's really, where do I start? Where does the rest of the world begin? Well, me is my skin and inward. Outside of my skin, I'm minding other people's business, or I'm out in the objective world, which we have an identity and a function, and half of our life is about. So half of life, we go to school, we go to work, we go to meet people, we meet friends, we meet enemies, we interact, we accomplish things or we don't accomplish things. That's above the horizon. But each day we're going to take our impression, whether we were liked or not liked, or appreciated or not appreciated. We're going to get feedback, and that's going to come and affect us personally. So if we're put down every day at school or at work, and you come home, you're not going to feel good about yourself. You're going to start the next day feeling a little insecure. You're going to, if this repeats, you start building up more chronic patterns of negative experience. And it starts affecting how we can function. So above, the basic thing is, if we see things outside of ourselves and we see things out and around us, above the horizon, we can see them. We can be objective. We can see how many trees there are, how many people there are. We can see colors. We can see shapes. We can see things that we can agree upon what's there. These are outer functional perceptions. We can be objective about what's functional. So two people in the room, are we in a relationship? What are you working at? What are you doing? These are all objective functional things. As soon as you get, what are you feeling? Where are you coming from? Where are you? Who are you? We think of who are you in status positions, but when we're trying to know someone, we have to get into their personal being, into their subject being. Everybody has a subjective being. And when the subjective being is feeling secure, boy, it becomes very easy to function out in the world. When the subjective being is insecure, it becomes really difficult to even go outside and function, because you're going to magnify your insecurity to others. Now, depending on how our charts are, we have biases that take us more out into the world or more into the world, more within. So these are paths of life that come out from our chart. Is your sun above, below the horizon? Is it more important to be subjective or objective in your life? Everyone has subjective and objective, but if the sun's somewhere, it becomes very important. If the moon's somewhere, where we see each planet, it comes against the status. Are you projecting? Are you reacting? Are you projecting subjectively or objectively, or reacting subjectively or objectively? And for each planet, it has a different expression, a different function, different materialization. So here we have the above the horizon functional, below, so the subjective being. Like everyone has subjective being, and we all have different degrees of functional reality. And there is, of course, a relation between the inner subjective being and the outer functional reality. They affect each other. The ascendant and the descendant is a line of consciousness. It's like a tabletop. It's the point where the zodiac comes up or goes down, where we see the two sides of the same degree, opposite sides of the zodiac. It's like the zodiac curves up above the chart and then comes down below it. But the ascendant is the point where I'm sensing the balance between, it's your balance sheet between where I'm coming from and what I'm going to do. The ascendant, what I'm putting out. The descendant is the consciousness of how other people, how I'm relating and how other people are functioning with me, and how the feedback I'm getting and how I take it personally or not. It's conscious of being related to others. That's the descendant. How other people influence you. What you put out, what comes back. But hey, stupid, how you going? You're not going to get, oh, you're so wonderful back. So always, in every moment, we're putting out and coming back. But in our horoscope, we have a tendency do one to perhaps be more conscious of the self, more conscious of others. We can be more subjective, more objective. All of these, it depends where the sun is. This is the texture and the meaning of the application of astrology. So this puts the 4 quadrants in. We have the 2 subjective quadrants are intuition and feeling. Feeling, we're taking feelings in. You made me feel good. You hurt my feelings. These are things that happen in our feelings that affect our personal motivation and our sense of security. Depending how it's affected at the IC, we intuitively project what we're going to do. I got to do this, I got to do this, I got to put this together. Because this happened, I have to do this, or I have to be this way. This is the intuitive subjective. I sense something, I got this motivation, I got to express it intuitively. As it comes up to the ascendant, that's when you begin to start putting your projective intuition, your personal intuition, starts going out into the world, and it becomes a thing. You start thinking about the effects of your identity with your motivation and your intuition, how it's affecting other people. You begin to think about what you're doing, your effect on other people, what you can do to influence other people, what you have to do, where you're going to go. You begin to think about where you're going, and that process is the instigative rising. Half of the chart. One half is subjective, that's the intuition. One half is objective, thinking. I'm thinking about what I'm doing, I'm making the plan, I'm going here, I want to achieve this, I want to accomplish this. So this is the thinking quadrant. Once you reach the peak of your status and position, and depending what position that is, it could be a molehill, it could be a huge mountain, it depends how you work to put things up, how high your midheaven is, or how deep your cave is below the horizon. But the midheaven, then you start reacting to other people, you start getting feedback in social positions, you're accomplishing things well or not well, you're working well or not well, you're reacting to people, and you're having to adjust your reactions to people in the sensation, objective reaction phase, from midheaven to descendant, who you relate to, who you got to know, what you got to see, what you got to change. It's your social conscience. But the minute you start reacting to people and somebody makes it personal, they bring up your name or they point at you more specifically, and you take something personally, it becomes a feeling. And you start responding subjectively because it's affecting your feelings. And when you get good feelings, hey honey, wasn't I good for you? Hey mom, look at me. When we get positive feedback, boy, it really affects our motivation, makes it easy to do things. But if we're getting negative feedback, if we put out bad things, negative things are going to come back. If we're not putting out anything, not much is going to come back. So there's lessons on how to be objective and function in the world. There's lessons about how to subjectively deal with things. So the descendant is the point where you take in impressions from others. And that's so important. It totally, how you take in is always balancing what you put out. It's either complementing it or the result of it. And as you take things in, it'll come down to your IC, to how it affects you personally, in your sleep, in your unconscious. You begin to feel the results of the day you just had, all the impressions you've taken in. You sleep, you dream, whatever. And then when you lose consciousness at night, then you begin to start your next day intuitively going out into the world again. Anytime your relationship breaks or a world falls apart, you're having to go back to the basics of the foundation, work on your motives, build up your intuition, and build up this cycle again. So this is so okay, we're going to do this. We're still just going over this, but I just getting into this process for this course. At the end of each class, we're going to have a certain period of time where I'm going to open up all the channels so we can all talk to each other. And we'll just spend 15, 20 minutes talking to each other and asking questions or whatever. And it'll be a little more participatory rather than me just, for me to teach, I got to get myself together and talk about these things in order and put them out so you can hear them. But then we can talk about it after. It's a little less one-sided. So, okay, our first main category when we're looking at people's charts, is it rising or is it setting? Are we projecting energy are reacting. So if a planet's rising or setting, it's going to function in a very different way. As you're going into life and trying to live your day-to-day experiences, anything on the rising side, you're going to be projecting. Anything on the setting side is going to react and respond. So with all the 10 levels of consciousness, we have them mixed up depending on our pattern types and where they are. We'll have different numbers of different points rising, different points setting, but each one has its own unique. You have to see each one first. When we get to the 5th level, we start putting this all together, we start counting how many points in each of these, and we start seeing it on another level. But right now, you have to see each one, each planet, you know, like our moon, our memory, our feelings, our needs. Do we project our needs or do we react for our needs? Two different attitudes. You know, same with Mercury, Mars, each planet will either be rising or setting. You either project your ideas or you be responding to your ideas. Then we have the objective, half above, social functional, that dimension of reality, the outer world, and we have our subjective personal world, what we feel about it, who we are inside of it. So here we'll see, actually we can go right through to the next one. I have the rising, the setting, above, below. When we put these together, they create the 4: intuition, thinking, sensation, feeling. So the subjective half below, our personal being, we can be personal about our feelings, we can be personal about our intuitions. They're subjective. Oh, I gotta sense this, I gotta do this. Oh, I identify to this. This is the intuition projecting my subjective being, where I'm coming from. The feelings is responding to the outside and making it personal, taking it in. That's again the subjective feelings. When we go out in the world, we're projecting our thinking, objectively, who we affect, who we know, what we're doing, what we have to do, the status we have, what we're trying to accomplish. We have all our thoughts of what to do. That's the thinking quadrant. It's projective, but it's functional, social, functional, objective. As soon as we've accomplished what we could, we start to respond. And when we're responding functionally, if someone's unhappy, we adjust things. If someone doesn't like what we do, we adjust it, or we take our position apart when we're adjusting it by being sensitive. I call it sensation, but really it's sensibility to other beliefs, to other social values, to people of the same financial levels, to who you attract, what partners you react. And it's the objective way to respond to each other to solve problems. So this is the objective setting. It's reacting objectively to people in a matter-of-fact manner. As soon as it becomes irrational or personal, as soon as you take it personally, you're reacting personally, you're taking it, you're having a feeling, you take it feeling, the personal feelings are going down deeply. You're no longer functional. Your feelings have become accentuated more than your thinking or sensations, and they pull you into yourself more. And other people will see it like that too. So this is our main wheel for the main category: rising, setting, above, below, intuition, feeling, sensation, thinking. And then we have our angular, succeeding, cadent. Okay, so even though the numbers, the houses are numbered counterclockwise, we will see them working from third house, second house, first house, and going around the other way, because we're watching these phases and these timings.